FBI wanted Samuel Little victims, minus the serial killer who hid America's forgotten murders. For decades, a killer walked through America without being caught. Behind him were missing women, unsolved murders, and families searching for answers. But when investigators finally uncovered the truth, they discovered a crime story that shocked the entire country. This is the story of Samuel Little and the victims whose names almost disappeared forever. In the world of true crime, some cases are remembered because of the mystery, because of the brutality, and some because they reveal a terrifying truth about how easily victims can be forgotten. The case of Samuel Little is one of those stories. A man who was eventually linked to numerous murders across America. But the victims were not famous. Were not powerful. Many were women living difficult lives, people whose disappearances did not always receive the attention they deserved. For years, their cases remained hidden inside police files, waiting for someone to find the connection. Samuel Little was born in 1940. Throughout his life, he had repeated encounters with law enforcement. He was arrested for different crimes, including violent offenses. But despite his criminal history, investigators did not connect him to a large number of murders for many years. He moved between different places, different communities, different lives, and behind the ordinary appearance was a dangerous pattern that would remain hidden for decades. Victims connected to Samuel Little came from many different backgrounds. Many were women who were vulnerable, struggled with personal problems. Some were living without strong support systems. Because of their circumstances, their disappearances sometimes did not create the same level of attention as other cases. Their names became cold case numbers. Their stories became forgotten files. But every file represented a real person, someone with a family, someone with memories, someone who deserved justice. For years, investigators across different states were looking into separate murder cases. At first, these crimes appeared unrelated. Different locations, different years, different victims. But eventually, a connection started to appear. Samuel Little's name became connected to old cases through evidence and investigation. In 2012, authorities arrested him. Later, DNA evidence connected him to some murders. But what happened next became one of the most shocking parts of the investigation. During interviews with investigators, Samuel Little began talking about crimes he claimed to have committed. He described victims, locations, and details from cases that had remained unsolved for years. Investigators compared his statements with old murder files. Some information matched. Some cases that had been mysteries for decades finally started to receive answers. His confessions opened a door into a hidden history of violence. FBI became involved in helping identify victims connected to Samuel Little. Investigators reviewed hundreds of unsolved cases. They studied old reports. They searched for missing names. They looked for connections between forgotten murders and the information provided during interviews. One of the biggest challenges was identifying every victim, because many cases had limited evidence. Some victims had no confirmed identity. Some families were still waiting for answers. One of the most heartbreaking parts of this case is the number of women whose identities remained uncertain. Investigators created profiles and released information, hoping someone would recognize them. A description, a location, a memory, a missing person report from years ago. Each discovery meant another victim could finally have a name. Another family could finally receive answers. Samuel Little case showed a painful reality. Not every victim receives the same attention. Some disappear and immediately create national headlines. Others disappear quietly, and criminals can exploit that silence. This case forced law enforcement to look deeper into old investigations. It showed why every missing person case matters. The focus of this story should not only be the person responsible. The victims are the center of this case. Women whose lives ended tragically. Women whose stories were ignored for years. Women who deserved to be remembered. Investigators continued working to identify victims and bring their stories back into the public eye. Samuel Little was eventually identified, but the questions surrounding his victims continue. How many stories are still hidden inside old case files? How many families are still waiting for answers? And how many forgotten victims are still waiting to be found? What do you think about this case? Could more victims still be discovered? Comment your opinion below, because every victim had a name, every victim had a story.